Get some more analysis from Barry Pavel, who's a senior vice president and the director of the Scowcroft Center for Strategy and Security over at the Atlantic Council. He also joins us from Washington. Barry, good to have you on the show. For about a week now, we knew that the U.S. was concerned of this threat from Daesh's Afghan arm, or ISIS-K. Let me start off with the same question I asked Courtney. I mean, what do you make of this security threat issued by the U.S. Embassy in Kabul?
Well, I think it's very clear. I think that there is very clear, unambiguous intelligence that ISIS-K is looking for opportunities in the very near term to conduct attacks against civilians in the airport area. We've seen the British notice to their citizens to stay away. We've now seen the U.S. notice to their citizens to stay away. I think that is a very clear situation, and I think they'll stay away. I hope that anybody who is at the airport, whatever their nationality, I hope that there is sufficient security around them, or they end up going somewhere else too. So I worry very much about the kinds of crowds you're showing right now. I don't think ISIS-K cares too much about the nationality of its victims.
That's a very good point. All right. Secretary Blinken did say a little bit earlier on this evening that the evacuations will continue until necessary. But isn't this really up to the Taliban, or does this tell you that the two sides sort of have come to some sort of agreement? Because the Taliban said, you know, this is our red line.
Yeah, so I think we're definitely in a situation where the talks between the U.S. and the Taliban have matured to a point where the U.S. has assurances that any Americans that are remaining, that the Taliban won't throw up roadblocks, obstacles, that those continuing evacuations will be facilitated. I don't know how the U.S. enforces that once the U.S. forces are out. So I think the strong assumption is that the Taliban want the U.S. out as much as the U.S. wants to get out. So we will see, though. I worry about the friction of war, about situations like this, where communications are not always clear, where some Taliban soldier somewhere on the road to Kabul doesn't agree. I think this is a very, very fragile situation.
I think the State Department or the Pentagon described the situation there fluid and dynamic, and it certainly looks that way. All right, the president earlier today was briefed on these contingency plans. What do you think these could be?
Well, there's any number of things that can go differently. Right now, the scenario is cooperative between the Taliban and the U.S. Right now, there are no obvious, blatant, out in the open Taliban activities that would cause the U.S. great concern. But there's a range of scenarios, and I think that's a bit of a deterrent message that the United States is sending, that if we see certain things happening, we will not hesitate to use military force again. And I think it has not yet been stated clearly, but if the Taliban is in charge of Afghanistan and the Taliban leadership is in the presidential palace, they then have a home address, and the United States knows how to get at leadership that has a home address.
Barry Pavel, pleasure having you on. I appreciate your analysis. Thank you very much.